I think the Gender Action Plan is really a huge step forward, because we are not only focusing on women's empowerment, on economic empowerment, on voice and participation. We are also focusing on violence against women, which is still very important. But the most important thing, I think, is that we are now strengthening the importance of the institutional cultural shift. So shifting mentalities, changing these attitudes, I think this is one of the most important things that we have to do at this moment. We tried to think about an instrument which is adequate and which is user-friendly and which can be used in the field through and by the partners and by the program direction. And we call it the gender budget scan. The biggest challenge is, of course, how do we get from theory to practice? And this has been a long way within our organization, trying to help our programs and projects in the field to integrate the gender dimension into their projects and programs. So we make a distinction between 4 categories. We have gender blind activities or expenses. For example, if we are buying cars, we don't know who will drive the car, we don't know, or we don't even want to know how many women will be using this car. But then the second category is supporting the gender machinery, which is for me very important. This category, expenses or activities, mean that we collaborate with them. For example, if we have an infrastructure program and we want to build water stations and we want to have a campaign regarding this installation, a campaign on hygiene or health, for example, we can outsource this activity to the gender machinery, which will, for example, integrate the gender dimension in this awareness-raising campaign for this installation. Then the third category that we distinguish is gender sensitive. This means all kinds of activities that are touching differences between women and men, for girls and boys. So this is touching the needs, the practical needs, and touching upon the differences between women and men, but you are not transforming anything. And this is the last category that we have, the gender transforming category, which is aimed at really changing social, political, economic differences between women and men, the relationships between women and men, the gender roles, and this is touching the structural obstacles that women encounter when they want to empower themselves or empower their environment. Of course, this gender budget scan, which we use in our programs and projects, from the start, from the drafting phase, is very important, because you have the commitments at the beginning of your program, and through the program, through the project direction, the program, of course, has its own course and has its own way of being implemented. And there is a danger, of course, that the commitments made at the beginning will not be kept during implementation. So this is why this gender budget scan is very important, because it not only shows at the beginning which kind of change we want to aim, but it also permits our programs to follow up during the annual review, during the midterm review, during final evaluation. And we had a program in RDC where there was huge results on women's empowerment. And this was for almost €1 million. And through my gender budget scan, I could detect all the money that went to this result and to the different activities. It made us accountable for our commitments. We had commitments for women's empowerment at the beginning, and this could be kept through this gender budget scan in the implementation phase. The fact, for example, that the project team can think about these different categories, make them also think about alternatives, looking for solutions, getting more deeper into the analysis, and trying to have solutions which are more appropriate and which are more strengthening the structural interests of women. For example, hospitals, when they are constructed nowadays, they also construct cabinets for sexual and reproductive health and rights. And you can do this in a gender-sensitive manner, but you can do this also in a transformative manner. For example, inviting not only girls to sessions on information, awareness raising, but you can also invite boys and try to touch this relationship between girls and boys and try to touch these difficult and sensitive issues on, for example, violence against women, on sexual and reproductive health and rights issues, which are also important for men. And in our programs, we are now engaging much more men, for example, in activities of awareness raising, violence against women, and those kinds of activities.